Hi again, guys, and welcome to another, well, this is going to be sort of a replay cast slash review slash something, and I just had this replay from the other day. This was off stream that I played this, and this is the KV-122. This is a tier 7 Russian premium heavy tank, and you may be wondering, why do we need another premium heavy tank? Because Wargaming wants more money to give to Serb. That's literally the only reason. Well, that and because War Thunder also put this into their game. They're like, oh, we need to keep up with them. Bliet. So, yeah. Basically what this thing is, in a nutshell, is the KV-85 with the 122mm gun, but at tier 7. And with basically double the DPM that brings it up to the same as the IS. And the better gun, well, slightly better gun handling that comes with that. This gun is still derpy as hell, and I feel that it works better on the IS, because on this tank, it takes forever to aim, and when you do, it's pretty much just a derp gun. It is the 122mm D25T potato launcher, the same one as the KV-3, the IS, the IS-2, the Russian premium IS-2, the D25T on the Chinese IS-2 gets better premium rounds and the same DPM overall because it's got to be different somehow, right? Anyway, where this thing differs to the IS basically is that while it has fewer hit points and the hull armor is the same as the KV-85, so it's not very good hull armor, the turret's still fairly dependable. It's pretty much the same as the IS one. The gun, well, 390 Alpha, pretty nice. But where this thing shines is in the mobility. This thing, I play it much like I do my T10, the tier 9 Russian heavy tank. And it's pretty effective in that role of kind of a bigger, beefier medium tank that has a much bigger gun. Would I say this thing is worth buying? When the Russian IS-2 is available, if you really want a tier 7 premium Russian heavy, then I would say no. However, if you like your slightly quicker heavies, this one is definitely for you. So, in this match on Lakeville, we're going to start by going down the middle road, but that's not going to work out very well for us, and well, it's not really going to be because the enemy team counter-spots us or anything. No, this is because if we turn around like this, we've got kind of we've got some extra baggage with us, yeah. I've managed to, like, get myself to pretty far up. You wouldn't expect a heavy tank to get this far, but with the mobility of this thing, and by the way, that was a blind shot from that guy. I'm not spotted, I do have 6th sense. This is the crew from my T10, by the way. So, as you can see, these guys here, the SU, the Churchill 3, the AT-15A, and the OI all have an urge to go very, very far forward and get shot in the face, because as soon as they get to about here, that's when they're going to get spotted by the guys up here. And, yep, the Churchill 3 has already been spotted. That was by the Hellcat, who's about here. Yeah, about here. And we're going to see him pop up very soon. I'm staying in free cam for the moment, rather than fixed cam. And you can see me firing off some shots. I'm actually taking aim at some of the bushes on that ridgeline, because they're actually pretty likely locations for people to sit when they're camping and firing at people who go down the middle road. But as you can see, the Hellcat was actually just kind of sitting, not even in a bush, he was just sitting on the ridgeline. So, yeah. And the Panther M10 turns up, he is way, way out here. We do try and put a shot into him, but unfortunately that just tracks him. So, not very successful there. And, yeah, we've already fired about 5 shots already, just trying to hit things blind. And as you can see, things have not worked out for the teammates who came down this way with us, and yeah, there's a very good reason for that, because none of those guys have any view range. AT-15A is only spotting the Panther and the Hellcat because he's actually pretty close to them now, in fact within 300 meters of the Hellcat, so you know, most crews that have at least 300. On this tank, with the crew I have, and with food, I've got 454, because this thing has a 360 meter view range. You can actually get a decent view range on this thing. I don't have recon at full yet, it's sitting around 70%. So when this thing does get recon at full, it will be pretty nice. I'll have about 460 meters view range, and it'll be a lot more effective. But I didn't even get to do any spotting that match because of the pancakes who were following me. So instead, I come to basically clean up everything that's come through the valley, because we only had, well, we had an SU-100, T-34 Cromwell and an M4 and RT, but they all died because the enemy OI just pressed W key, which, you know, very, very hard to do, and then all the tanks next to him kind of followed on. So switching to fixed cam now. I'm quickly checking around just in case anything has managed to, you know, kill the OI or IKV. Luckily, no. Now I'm going to get really unlucky with some of my shots against this OI. That actually went low and hit the very, very well angled plate just below the mini turrets. And this one's going to be really unlucky as well, the next one. At least, well, it would be if I shot him, but this T-34 decides, oh, okay, I want to commit suicide by Russian 122mm gun. And so that shot, that was heading straight between the two mini turrets, but instead it kind of veered off to the left and bounced off an auto ricochet angle on the left one. But now the OI's fired, he's on reload. We can close the distance here. And there he is. He's actually looking at the KV-1S here. And this KV-1S was a very, very useful player this match. So he's hiding behind the wreckage of the Comet there. And the OI, well, he missed his shot. The OI also missed his shot. Both of them hit the ground. And the OI on reload gives me a chance to get in close. That went through the side of the mini turret that was flat. You can see there the dirty great big hole. Also, the problem with this tank is it's very, very light. The IS weighs quite a bit more. And so it means that tanks like the OI there can actually just squish you. As you can see, I did lose about 60 hit points from the OI just trying to push us. But unfortunately for him, it didn't track us, so we just managed to go all the way around him, shoot him in the side, and it was game over for that guy. Unfortunately, the enemy team still have the numbers advantage. Yeah, they've still got their VK-36, their KV-1S, their AT-2, their artillery, which is an M44. They still got the Hellcat. They've got a VK-31D who's in the middle there, though he's about to lose a bunch of hit points, probably to the IKV. Yep, there it is. That's quite a high roll for the IKV as well. And they've still got their Panther M10. So this is not going to be the easiest of fights. Putting in a blind shot towards the VK there. I'm going to switch back to free cam mode once again so I can just kind of rotate whenever I want. Friendly KV-1S there, also trying to get blind shots on the VK, not being lucky either, because as we're going to see, our blind shot missed as well. And yep, there he is. That was our spotting, but it turns out that it wasn't actually the VK that spotted us, it was the KV-1S. Because the KV-1S is actually closer. The VK there, you know, it's possible that he had a decent crew. Just to get up to the spotting range cap, he would have been able to spot us. But I'm going with the rule that, well, with the possibility that he didn't have an amazing crew, and instead the KV-1S and the enemy team being slightly closer was the one that spotted. So at this point I was thinking, could there be someone coming through the valley? And so I turned around for a split second and I was like, wait a second, no. They've got the numbers advantage, they know where all of us are. They're going to be expecting us to camp. So instead, I turn back around, I know I've got the KV-1S who's on full health as support, and I start heading through the town. Now, this thing you might think it's a Russian heavy. It will be decent for brawling. Nope. You do not want to brawl using this tank. Unless you know you're going to either get a one-shot kill, or you're going to get 2 shots on something, like the OI, for example. Goodbye, Hellcat. That's suicide by 122mm once again. But yeah, if you're against something like an OI and you're up close, if they've got the big gun, you can out-reload them. You can put 2 shots into them for every one they fire, and even then they're less likely to hit than you are. But what you have to take advantage of in this thing is that it's got far better mobility than the regular IS. While the power to weight is the same pretty much, this gets better ground resistances. It's got a better top speed. As you can see, it didn't take us that long to get from about 10-15 while we were on that ridge, trying to avoid knocking over trees so then the RT wouldn't guess where we are. But you can see this thing gets about the map pretty quickly, and because of that we found the VK-36 in short order. And now we're just gonna take our time. He's not even looking at us. He's focused entirely on the KV and the OI. Well, the KV-1S and the OI. So we're free to just put 2 shots into him, and then he decides he wants to commit suicide by Japanese derp gun. Annoyingly, the RT does force us to use our repair kit and our med kit, and then sadly the Panther then kills our driver. Why did I say it forced us to use our repair kit as well? Well, I need those optics up. I needed to have the view range on the Panther. That is what allowed me to actually get the shot on him at all. And even then, I got very lucky with the one that hit. Now we've used most of our ammunition. We're just down to 4 APCR and 4 HE. I do want to avoid using the HE because it won't do very much to either the AT2 or the Panther. I do take a shot at the AT2 here, but I don't realize where he is. I don't realize that he's actually behind a rock there, and that one just doesn't go anywhere near. Meanwhile, bouncing a shot from the Panther M10. As you can see, the turret can actually do pretty well. None of the shots that have hit us have penned the turret. Instead, they've hit the hull. Either the front or side. I know the pen markers aren't really showing, but sometimes they don't turn up in replays for some reason. And then the OI just deletes the AT2 and just removes him from existence. So that makes that easier. Meanwhile, creeping up on the Panther M10, there he is. And there's the artillery. We decide to try and shoot the artillery. We get unlucky, it goes slightly high, and then he just splashes us again and tracks us. So I'm just going to heal up the driver right here. In just a second, there it is. And we don't bother with the repair kit for just the tracks. And then we go forward, the Panther misses, I shoot him in the face. That was always going to pen, because it was APCR. The M44 does shoot us again, but at this point, it's too late. That was never going to pen frontally, so it was never going to do more than 200 or so. Even if it did 300, we would still be quite healthy, and then he's never going to reload in time to stop me from doing this. So in a nutshell, that's the KV-122. Basically, just a more maneuverable KV-85/IS. So that was our ace tanker, high caliber. We got the top gun as well, 7 kills. We ended up doing 3,520 damage, and that along with the 7 kills and 200 spotting got us 1,465 base XP. We did not make a profit at all. 101,925 credits is a very nice amount to make with a tier 7 premium. However, because not only did we fire almost all of our ammunition, we also used both repair kit, med kit, and we had food on as well, because the food, without the food we wouldn't have had the spotting range cap. It would have been around 429, 430 actually, no? Yeah, about 430 it would have been actually. So yeah, we ended up losing 25,910 credits because we had to fire almost all of our ammunition. If it had just been the AP, maybe 1 or 2 APCR, then we would have been okay. We would have made a nice profit. But, you know, game ended up being that we had to do a lot more than was expected. But, I mean, that was good for us. It was good for gunmark progress, which is essentially what I'm using this thing for. It's basically 3 mark fodder for me, and also a little bit of extra crew experience as well. And for XP, we had our base XP boosted from 1,465 to 2,197 as a result of the premium account, and obviously since it's a premium tank it gets an extra bit of XP, so that was an extra 440, which is nice. So 2,637 XP for this battle alone. So what do I think of this thing? Well, if you do like playing your faster heavies that sacrifice a bit of armor for mobility and they still hit pretty hard, then I would say, yeah, this is not a bad choice. If you prefer your like true heavies and you want a Russian one that's tier 7, IS2, that's the only one way to go if you want that. But yeah, I would say this is more of a medium tank than a heavy tank in terms of how you play this thing. And I kind of have fun with it that way. And with the new matchmaking, tier 7 has become a lot better. And this thing actually kind of works well. If you like, for example, on Muravanka, if your mediums are going towards the forest, and you've got some true heavy, like proper heavies, going towards the 1, 2, 3 line, and you've got some TDs to support them, then this thing can actually do really well in the forest. This thing can, because it's facing lightly armored things, and it's got the maneuverability to pop out, take a shot for 390 average damage, and then, you know, all chances of them, you know, at that sort of range, hitting your hull, if you're in kind of small ridges that you can still use your 6 degrees of gun depression on, then they're going to struggle against this thing. Like, this thing absolutely obliterates tier 6 mediums, and tier 7 mediums have a hard time with it as well. So, you know, use it to bully the mediums, and then use, if you've got a good crew in it like I do, then you can use the view range to maybe pick up the heavies, maybe the occasional TD if they don't have binos or camo nets. What's also really nice is that this thing just takes out light tanks really, really, really quickly. If a light tank decides that he's going to poke over, like, let's say a light tank's going to poke a corner against you and you've got high explosive loaded, you will more than likely pen. So if I just switch back to this, if I hover over the high explosive here, that's 61mm of pen. And you can pen most of the light tanks in the game with that. There are a couple here and there that you won't, like the T-54 lightweight, but, you know, and the LTTB, but, you know, they're Russian, so what do you expect? But the vast majority of them, you will pen, and that's 530 average damage, as well as the higher chance of module damage, so doing that makes this quite a threat to light tanks. And you can see I carry 4 high explosive rounds here, just for light tanks, because there are so many of them going about these days that, well, a little bit of extra damage here and there doesn't really hurt. And they tend to YOLO you quite a lot, not even when they're on low health. Like, if they've got about 500 hit points, I've seen them YOLO heavy tanks like this, thinking that, okay, well, even though they've seen me coming from a long way off, they're totally not going to have high explosive loaded, they're going to have AP loaded, and then suddenly, you know, they're dead from a single shot that did over 500 damage. So, yeah, there's that. Also, it's a much higher chance of, you know, knocking out their engines, setting them on fire, especially setting them on fire. I did have a match with this where I saw a Bulldog at very close range, and he was on full health. I shot HE into his side, and he burned for... It did about 510 damage with the shot alone, then he burned for another 400 rather. He did not have a fire extinguisher, he was running food. But not only that, the fire also knocked out his ammo rack, so he didn't die from that, it went yellow. So that basically made him a very, very, very sad Bulldog. Anyway guys, that's all from me. I hope you enjoyed this kind of mini review, and let me know if you want to see more like this, because it was kind of interesting doing this. I might do it for things like the T-34-3, the T-43, because I do play those tanks fairly regularly. I might do one for the SU-152 as well, because I've actually been having a lot of fun with that thing. So let me know, guys. If you've got one tank that you want me to review, or even just check out, just let me know. And if you have one, if you see me playing one on stream or in videos, and you want my opinion, I will make one of these videos because this was fun. So I'll see you guys next time. Hope you all enjoyed, and peace out.